Welcome very much here to the podcast, Kashyap Shah, the CPO of Credit Star Group and also the CEO of Credit Star in the United Kingdom. Very happy to have you here and talk about the product that you're promoting and running also, Monefit SmartSaver. So thank you very much for taking the time, Kash.
Thanks, Alex. Pleasure to be here.
So, Kash, for the people who are not already familiar with you or your experience, what have you been doing in the last few years when it comes to lending and the Credit Star Group?
Okay, so I have been in product and consumer finance for nearly 22 years now. I have worked for quite a few, I would say at least 4 to 5 major banks in the world: UBS, Bank of America, JP Morgan, Barclays. And then I decided to go back to consumer finance as a startup. I built quite a few businesses in that space, primarily around lending and investments categories and savings as well. I came across Credit Star a couple of years back, and I have been following the journey meticulously, talking to the people about what Credit Star was doing. And then I decided to join the group a year and a half ago as a chief product officer, and then eventually become a CEO of a UK business. So my background is always around building a large-scale consumer finance businesses. That includes the savings, investments, anything to do with the consumer finance, including the payment. So at Credit Star, my role is to build a product that helps people manage their finance in the most effective way. So just to give you a little bit of flavor, we got a variety of different products. So we started our core business as a lending business. So we got a couple of products in terms of the lending. Then eventually we tested quite a few propositions around buy now, pay later on those categories. And then now we have been testing our new product line, which is what we call SmartSaver. It's an amazing product that fits quite well into the investment category. And then we've got quite a few other product ideas that we are bringing into the market in the near future.
Right, very nice. So when it comes to these products that you have right now in the Credit Star Group, one of the products that the Credit Star Group is famous for are the credit lines. And people who use the services of the Credit Star Group often have these credit lines. Can you tell our viewers and listeners in a few sentences what exactly they are and why you decided to focus on them?
So credit line product is a beautiful product for people wanting to have access to the finance on an ongoing basis. So you don't have to have a large need of the funding where you go for the bank, go for the installment loan, apply for a big loan. But credit line in turn, it gives you ability to draw down according to your credit as and when the need arises. So give an example, the consumer would come to us, we would underwrite their profile, we would agree a line of credit. For example, let's say 10,000 euro. And then from that point onwards, they can start withdrawing whenever they need it. So they would only pay what they withdraw. So it's a nice product in terms of you would not end up paying for the money that you would not need it, if you like. So you only withdraw whenever you need the funds for your needs, and then you pay it back. And at some stage, as you start repaying back your credit line, behind the scene, we constantly monitor the behavior aspects of the consumer, how often they are paying back, are they paying back on time, have their profiles been going up? So we also allows them to improve and increase the credit line as we go along. So it's a nice concept and a beautiful financial instrument for somebody who wants to have access to the funds on an ongoing basis, but not really know how much and when.
All right, I see. I think that's a very good explanation already. And let's talk a little bit about Monefit and the SmartSaver website. So I'm in this peer-to-peer lending space for quite a few years now. And what I always like to see is statistics and things where I can monitor my investment on an ongoing basis. So on Monefit, I haven't seen these statistics on the portfolio, for example, that is funded or outstanding and defaulted loans. What would be your comment to that?
So actually, there are two reasons for that. Monefit SmartSaver is still in the early stage. So if you look at the product launch, it's been probably 2 meaningful months we have been in the market. So we are still evolving. Now I've got like 10 different things to build, including updating the websites and product functionalities and everything, and a very limited resources. So we choose to focus more on building the product mechanics rather than the aesthetic side of the things, if you like. So that was one reason. Before that, when we launched the product, we did a pretty good due diligence and customer research in terms of what exactly consumer would like to see in this kind of product, right? And one of the feedback that came through prominently was they want simplicity. They do not want to know what goes on behind the scene, as long as A, this is legal, B, this is going the way it should be, and my money is protected and all of those things. So they wanted to hide the complexity, if you like, for on a day-to-day basis. So that was one of the reasons. So when you combine these couple of reasons, we decided not to publish this sort of data on our website, but in future we might.
All right. Do you have any timeline for that?
Not at the moment. As I said, my product backlog, which I will talk to you about what I want to do in a SmartSaver, it's so pretty full packed for next 6 to 7 months at least. We are in fact launching as we speak today a very nice piece of functionality for the SmartSaver investors. So I want to focus on more value side of the product propositions. And then we will go on to the other aesthetics and the number side of the websites.
All right, all right. And for investors like me who want to monitor those numbers and those developments, would you say that the quarterly reports are a good substitute until you have that on your website running those statistics?
I think so. So if you look at the group's quarterly reports, you can always look at all the details out there. So we keep it pretty transparent across the group in terms of the funding, the deployment of the funds, the defaults, the portfolio quality, where we are operating, including all the insights that we are learning from our consumers. So you can always check it out. And if you need more information, you can always contact us, and we'll be more than happy to actually tell you about what we're doing and how we're doing.
Okay, great. So staying with the quarterly reports, in your last Q3 report in 2022, on page 5, there was also a comment about the Credit Star Group repayment problems on Mintos and lender market to its investors in the loans there. Can you tell us more about how did this happen?
I think the first thing I would highlight that we are not the only one that got affected by the economic situation. So if you look at back in end of 21, beginning of 22, when we had the issues with the equity market and the cryptocurrency and the Ukraine war, all these things came in one go. And that affected the whole P2P space, not only P2P space. In fact, in any equity asset, any asset class you could take got severely affected. So that enforced us to deploy a lot of equity to our customers. Now, what happened was we had models, we had plans, but when you have this situation occurs in quantum that we never imagined before, you always have a little bit of liquidity, not shortage situation. So we could actually repay back all the outstanding, but that means we'll have to compromise on the growth of the business. So we decided that instead of paying the whole thing back, we worked very closely with Mintos platform. In fact, we are constantly in touch with them, and we worked out a schedule that allows us to decrease the outstanding payments, but at the same time allows us to grow the portfolio into all the markets, into all the products. So it was finding the right balance in terms of paying back all the investors versus growing the business as we go along. We agreed a very good schedule that we are happy to process. We have been doing that for last few weeks to months now. Every week we have been making some payments to Mintos. On a regular interval, we have some large chunk of payments as well. So we are confident that this is a very good balance in terms of clearing out any outstanding, at the same time growing the business. Because what's happening is right now, if you look at the markets in Finland, Estonia, not in Finland, Estonia, take any from 8 of our markets, there's a huge demand for consumer finance. People constantly come back to us with the need for the funding. They come back to us with, okay, how can I get involved with the SmartSaver? So we as a business, we have to make sure that we take care of all customer base, make sure that we take care of their needs while we keep this outstanding payment in a controlled manner. So that's exactly what has happened. So we are not the only one. There are quite a few businesses who are affected severely to the level where they had some substantial damages. Unfortunately, but in our case, we are pretty strong. Our profitability looks pretty strong. We have some amazing plans for growing the product portfolio, penetrating into the existing markets, and deploying some large chunk of money for our consumer base.
And you just said yourself that there are still the restructured pending payments, what they are called on Mintos. It's about 7.3 million euros left as of today, if I'm correct. And 1 million euro was already reduced. This sum was reduced by 1 million euros already. And can you say to us, because, you know, me as an investor, I always wonder if a company or a group like CreditStar has some repayment problems on other platforms, how will they treat their own investors on their own platform? Is there any sort of preferential treatment to those compared to the Mintos investors? Or how would I have to see this? Because I invested also in CreditStar loans on Mintos, and now I'm thinking about doing it on Monefit.
I think for me, not for me, for everybody in CreditStar, starting from Arrow to anybody in the business, for us, the most important thing is when people are trusting with their hard-earned money, we want to make sure that we respect that, we protect that. So it has got nothing to do with me acquiring and honoring our customer onto our platform, or we do it on Mintos or Lender Market or SmartSaver, any platform. For us, it's the same consumer, and there is no preferential treatment. We want to make sure that all our consumers who are trusting us in our product, in our brand, they get their money back in terms of what we have committed. Obviously, we might have a little bit of situation where liquidity can be compromised, but because, you know, we have to pay attention to the growth aspect of the business, economical situation. But what we do is we proactively work with the platforms like Mintos and Lender Markets to make sure that we are available for all the communications all the time. We are very transparent, and we are doing everything that we can to make sure that not only our existing customers are well protected, but also the new customers who are bringing into the ecosystem of CreditStar, they actually gain the good insights and a good confidence.
Right. And one more question about the CreditStar group, and then I promise we will get to some other topics. So in December of last year, a bond of CreditStar was placed, and it should have raised, or the plan was to raise 30 million euros. but only 14 million euros were actually raised in the end. So how do you secure your financial survival in these conditions where the market gives you less for your bonds than you want, and these big million euro payments on Mintos are coming in the next months?
So I think one thing that we have proactively started working towards that. In fact, from the day I've joined, one of the instruments that we have been heavily exploring is not only bonds. So historically, if you know, Credit Star had been getting the capital into the system through this bond issuance. That's been our source of capital for deployment. Now, we have been working very closely with some large financial institutions for large credit lines. So I'm not worried about bond doing 1.5 30 million euro, sorry, 15 million, 14 million euro or 30 million euro. I have a very scientific, technical reasons around that, but takeaway for you and for your listeners would be bond is not the only instrument that we are relying on. We have been working very closely with the large financial institution for debt funding. Because, as I said, there is a huge demand. So even if I do 30 million euro, that's not going to be sufficient for the people who are coming to us in all the 8 countries, right? So we have been working on that, and I'm confident that very soon we'll secure a good round of funding.
Right. Would you publish that on the blog of Monefit or Credit Star Group, or where would this be published in case investors want to know as soon as possible?
I would love to. As soon as I have got some paperwork signed and deals closed, I would love to tell everybody, including all our existing customer base, to all the platforms that we work with on our websites. And yeah, there'll be a proper announcement. But as I said, this sort of things takes time. When you are asking for a large chunk of money, it goes through a lot of processes, due diligence, and situations like Ukraine war. It doesn't help. So this is not the process that we just started. This is the process that we have been running for a very long period of time. It is taking time, but I'm confident that we will definitely secure a large funding round. Plus, we got the SmartSaver. That in itself is an amazing product where we got a little bit of capital to be used for our lending business. So when you combine bonds, when you combine SmartSaver, when you combine this institutional debt funding line, that's when you have a good liquidity into the system.
Right. And let's stay with Monefit SmartSaver. So the interest rates, and I agree, it's a very easy product to use. You just deposit and then basically it works and you get your hands off. So it's one of the easiest products, and it's set at 7% interest rate, which is well, slightly above one of your main competitors, Bondora Go Grow, at 6.75. And this interest rate is fixed, so it doesn't change one day to the other, but it stays the same for amount of time. And I wonder, under which conditions, when the ECB and Federal Reserve interest rates are rising, under which conditions would you raise this interest rate again? And how much of a raise could be expected in what amount of time?
I think at this point in time, we feel very confident and comfortable with the current level of interest rates of 7%. So if you look at the other players in the markets who have been doing some great work, I don't think so they are 6.5, by the way. They are much lower than 6.5. And the products are different in terms of how much money you could put into their accounts versus what sort of interest you would get if you are coming through the referral or direct. So there are a lot of combinations. Now, when we set the interest rate at SmartSaver, we always obviously look at the ECB rates and what's going on with the inflation markets, what's going on with the savings product. Because the SmartSaver is a very niche product, which sits quite nicely with the savings and investments world, if you like. So if you think about the savings, right? You go to UK or anywhere, you're not looking at more than 2% or 2.5%, right? if you're lucky to get a savings product of 3%, 4%, but then you're looking at locking your money for a good 12 months at least, right? So one of the product design requirement that we impose to ourselves, that we want to build a product that is easy to access, number one, which you rightly said. We want to build product where our consumer can access to that fund whenever they need, right? We want to build a product that actually helps them achieve their financial goal in the most effective way. So what you see right now on a SmartSaver is a very plain vanilla savings kind of pot. But actually, we have been working on building an experience where you could actually align your life goals with your financial products, because ultimately people are saving money for a reason, right? Somebody's saving money for a retirement, somebody's saving money for sorting out the rainy day fund, a wedding, a school fees, or whatever. So we want to build that kind of experience. When we are combining all of these reasons, 7% works quite well for us, where I think that is a very good value for our consumer. I don't believe ECB changing rate in the near future would have any impact on us, but we are constantly reviewing our models in terms of how much can we, because end of the day, I want to give value to our consumer, but at the same time, if we can get access to the funding, we want to give value to our lending consumers, if you like. So we are always in the process of finding that balance, and we feel very confident and comfortable where we are today with the 7% rate. In fact, if you come through some of the referral channels, you get more than 7%.
All right. Very
we
interesting.
Don't have any, we don't have any immediate plans to either reduce or increase.
Okay. And let's say you would have some plans. Is there a period of 1 month, 2 months, 3 months until those changes would come into effect? Do you have any plans for that when it does increase or decrease eventually?
As I said, at this point in time, this is not something that I'm worried about or overly thinking about. But obviously, we have to keep our options open to see how it goes, right? So in future, let's say if you want to offer a higher interest rate than 7%, then we will work through all the modeling, the calculations to make sure that, some of the requirements that we set for ourselves, like easy access to funds, can I satisfy that? Easy experience, can I do that? So when it ticks all the boxes, then I don't see a reason why we can't do that. And likewise, if it is not working out, then we might have to compromise on interest rate. But as I said, I don't see any reason right now to think about that. But when we do, obviously there'll be a thorough communications to everybody and sufficient time for people to make their own decisions in terms of what they want to do. But at this point in time, I'm super confident that I think this is one of the only product. In fact, I was checking yesterday in UK. There is nobody out there with this kind of rate. Even you lock your money. So to have a product where you get access to your funds whenever you need, you get an industry-leading interest rate, and you have the simplicity of using the product, I think this is win-win.
All right. And one more follow-up question to that last sentence that you just said. You have the fast payout. So how many days would it actually be? I've deposited my first 1,000 euros and they are invested. So let's say in half a year or so, I would withdraw that money again onto my bank account. How fast would this transfer be?
So right now, we have set ourselves a 10 days SLA, and it's got nothing to do with whether the money is being parked. It just technical limitations, if you like, in terms of the technology. We are constantly improvising on that. But in 10 days, you get your money back. In fact, I was checking with my team earlier today prior to this call, because I wanted to give you some insights in terms of what's going on. Let me just tell you exactly the number. So we had so far very little withdrawal, by the way, that I'm happy to announce. Very little, um, less than a couple of percent, if you like. And everybody who withdrew, they got their money back on precisely 10th day. In some cases, we have the money available to be given out, but we are actually doing it on 10th day just to maintain the SLAs and the rhythm. So in 10 days, you get your money back.
All right, all right. So as I just said before, I'm using your product right now, and I also looked at the terms of use for that. And I've sent you the points before, three points I would like to discuss in those and what those exactly mean, because I had a little bit of hard time understanding them. The first one would be point 7.8. It says that the buyer acknowledges and accepts that the SmartSaver price may be less than the aggregated funds and value of SmartSaver claims allocated to the buyer's SmartSaver account. Nothing in these terms may be considered a promise or guarantee of any profit or any specific rate of return. The buyer hereby waives any claims it may have against the Monefit card in respect to the SmartSaver price. So when we take those two, three sentences, what do we actually buy when we use Monefit SmartSaver if the repayment of any sum is not guaranteed?
So I think I've been personally looking into this, and I'm in fact working on a very good simplified answers, if you like. So if you are okay, I would actually send you a snippet of an answer that we are more comfortable with. But I can tell you right now, the investor purchase claims stemming from loan agreements concluded between the borrowers and the lending company part of the Credit Star Group. So while Monefit and the lending companies have certain safeguards and procedures in place to ensure that investors receive their investment back, along with their associated returns that we agreed, any investment criteria at risk which have to be clearly communicated in terms of terms and conditions, which is pretty much what it is. So I think, I don't think so there is anything to worry about it from the legal point of view, from the risk point of view. But it's one of those that we have to be very communicative in terms of our T's and C's in our document. But I'm happy to actually send you a full-on response, if you like, offline.
All right, yeah, that would be great. That would be great. The second of 3 points in these terms of use I would like to ask you about is point 16.3. It says, we will not be liable to you for any loss or damage, whether in contract, tort, including negligence, breach of statutory duty, or otherwise arising under or in connection with your use or inability to use the SmartSaver website and or use or reliance on any content displayed on the SmartSaver website. So do I understand that correct, that we can't rely on the content that is displayed on the SmartSaver website, or did I get that wrong?
I think you got that wrong. You can absolutely rely on the content that is displayed on the, obviously, right? But our team has written the T's and C's to take into account also the potential development of our service and inclusion of more elaborated data on our site regarding the claims. Now, SmartSaver is a fairly new proposition, if you like. The content in this clause refers to the different variables and statistics associated with the claims that may be displayed to investors. So in those situations, Monefit cannot be held liable, if you like, as since the content would be provided by third party. So I think this is the content that are not we created, but we are actually sourcing from third party to be displayed onto our platform or website, if you like. We can't be responsible for that, if you know what I mean, right? So that is pretty much what we're referring to here. And while the Monefit definitely would apply all the measures to make sure that the content that we source from third party, they are not owned by us, but sometimes, we might miss something that, because you can't constantly keep checking every letter, every word, if it is automated process. That is pretty much what we're referring to here. So any content that is originated, authored onto our platform, obviously you can rely on that, and I don't see why. but I think we are looking at the third-party content that are displayed onto the SmartSaver that are not produced by Monefit platform, if you like. So legally, we have to put those T's and C's in place.
Okay.
That is a common practice. That is a common practice. If you go to any websites, just to give you an example, where you have equity platforms, which are displaying the price, and the price is coming from Reuters, Bloomberg, or anybody, right? Now, you would see these sort of terms very well highlighted because they don't actually produce those prices and the data is coming from third party, which is what we are referring to here.
All right. And thank you very much for that explanation. I think it's immensely important to set that out clear. And the last point I would like to ask you on is point 12.5.3. It says you will not access or use the SmartSaver website except for its intended purpose and will not attempt to make copies, modify, reproduce, transmit, alter, or distribute all or any part of the SmartSaver website or any material or information contained thereon without the prior consent of Monefit card. So people can still talk about their experience on the website and take screenshots, right? For example, to make a, I don't know, blog post or anything about that.
I think you are absolutely right. And I have done that in the past as a consumer. I have used some financial products and taken a screenshot and posted into my friends group channels or maybe on a social media on a restricted manner. So this particular clause is not intended for investor to share their thoughts about the product in the form of screenshots. You could absolutely do that, not a problem. But the goal of this clause is to protect Monefit's intellectual property rights, if you know what I mean, making sure that SmartSaver product, the associated trademarks, the websites, the oral proposition remain safe. That is the whole intention. I don't have a problem in consumers, investors, the user base, if you like, sharing the screenshot. In fact, I have seen some of the people sharing, and I was more than happy for people to do that. Well, the only reason I was not so happy because the product is not as looking good as I wanted it, which we are making right now. But by all means, please, it's absolutely normal and it's allowed. It's just to protect the intellectual property rights, if you know what I mean. So if somebody wants to take a screenshot, work out the mechanics and start building their own propositions like that, then you would imagine, right? We have to protect our interest. That is the context.
All right. Thank you very much for that. And overall, would you say your terms of use give the investors enough rights compared to the competition of yours?
I think so. We have one of the goal that we always, as I said, simplicity, hiding unnecessary complex fund, because money is daunting, right? Whether you are a very professional investor or you are just jumping into this space. I have been to a situation where I go to the financial platforms and then you read through all these complex jargons and it rather than giving you confidence, you get overwhelmed, right? So we have been trying to deliberately keeping things simple and tried our best to simplify the terms and conditions as much as we can. And this is an ongoing project, if you like. We will make sure that we state the factual information which are legally required in a simplified wordings that our consumer can easily understand. So I think when you combine all of that, I feel confident that I think we have given sufficient information for all the investors, new users who are coming into this platform, looking to achieve their financial goals quicker. This is way more than sufficient for them to get started.
All right. And you, as the head of Monefit platform, what would you say to investors who are interested in your platform? What would you say to them to, well, basically make them join your platform?
I think if you think about the savings, right? So savings is a very good habit. Um, Likewise, if you think about managing finance has got many facades. It starts with savings, investing, protecting. There are so many different instruments that one need to have in the right proportion. So investments has got a very important role to play in terms of growing your wealth, right? Now, if you think about the investments, you've got different options. You've got equity investments, you've got bond investments, you've got P2P investments, you get product like SmartSaver. So for me, this is an amazing diversification into my portfolio where it gives me the goodness of investment returns, if you like, and flexibility around the savings product. So it's a combination of both savings and investment, and we sit right in the middle. So I think I see a good, in fact, we have started seeing people are using SmartSaver on a regular basis. I've got 60, not 60, I would say 70 to 75% of our user base invest more than once they've joined the platform. Why? Because now they're seeing the value of their compounding money, right? So once you put in money, I've seen people starting with a small chunk of money, which is absolutely fine. You test the platform, you see how it works. And then I have seen people deploying some serious money that aligns with their goals. Last week, I was on a call with one of our user base and who decided to deploy a lot of, a good portion of their portfolio. And we work with them. We make sure that they understand what they're doing and they're well protected. And then we help them, to navigate the whole process around that. So our job is not to just give them 7%. My job is to make sure that money is working from them. So if you think about SmartSaver, when I think about SmartSaver, I want to make sure that I give them 7% return, help them achieve their financial goal as quickly as they can. That is the objective. So in that context, I think this is probably one of the handful of product in the whole of Europe where you would get this kind of return.
And I would say, or I will add one point to that, without a limit on how much you can deposit, right? On Bondora Go Grow, you can only do a few €100 a month.
You can, well, we do have a limit, but that limit is pretty large. So that if you can't compare that with Bondora. So Bondora has done a great job, but if you think about, if you compare the product, not only we are superior in terms of the interest rates, but the limit that you could put into your account. But there are many other features that we are bringing into the market, which are quite innovative.
Could you remind me what that limit exactly is that you can deposit?
Right now, it's 100K.
100,000 euros. All right. And thank you very much for this already, for taking the time to answer all of those questions. In case investors have any other questions to you or to the platform in general, what's the best way to reach out to you and your team?
I think if you could just email us on a SmartSaver email address, that would be fantastic. You could always contact me. My email address is kashyap.shah@creditstar.com. Or you could reach out to anybody in my team members. We are constantly looking to talk to people because, we are building product for our user base. So the more we speak to the people, the more we understand why they are using the product, what they like about the product, what can we do in terms of improving the product. In fact, as I said, one of the outcomes of this feature that we are building right now came from the user. One of my users in Germany who constantly wants to invest, let's say, I think 500, 600 every week. That's their style, which is fantastic, right? So she said, why do I have to do it every day? Can I not do it like a recurring thing? And that's a great idea. So we are building stuff like that. So, we are constantly in the process of speaking to people. And I would encourage everybody, however small their account size is, doesn't matter. If you have put in €1, €10, €50, feel free to speak to us and we'll be more than happy to give you everything that we can.
All right. I very much look forward to the pipeline of improvement and tweaks and changes you have to improve your platform in the next few months. Really excited to see that. Thank you very much, Kash, for taking the time to answer all of these critical questions. And do you want to say something else? You look like you would say something else to investors as a last sentence.
I think, well, I can spend next 2 hours talking about this one. But this is a product that we have been thinking about for a very long period of time. So if you think about the risk, it's a very well controlled risk, a fantastic return, easy to get started with. You don't need to have thousands of euros. You could get started with 10 euro, 20 euro, as much as you could put in. And then as you go along, you can add in more money as you go along. And the best part is there are no hidden fees, and you have access to your funds whenever you need it.
Okay. Thank you very much for that, Kash.
Likewise. Thank you very much for having me, Alex.